Money Talks.
Money Talks.
Money Talks. Money Talks.
Hi, my name is Ibukun Oyedeji, President CFA Society Nigeria. Join me and a host of other financial industry practitioners for Money Talks with CFA Society Nigeria.
Money Talks.
Money Talks.
Money Talks. Money Talks. Money Talks with CFA Society Nigeria. Let's talk about money. Hello everyone and welcome to Money Talks. Money Talks is brought to you by CFA Society Nigeria and it's a financial literacy program. Smart. Uzechi is my name. You can call me Captain Smart and you'll be financially correct. Today on the program, I have a very special guest. Funaya Peters is my guest. Funaya is a finance professional with experience in corporate finance and M&A. With her knowledge of accounting and finance, Funaya adds value to local and cross-border transactions via due diligence, research, financial analysis, and valuations. She currently works with the Deals Advisory Team in one of the Big Four firms. Funaya has distinguished herself by earning the CFA Charter and the Chartered Accountant qualification. She also holds a bachelor's degree in accounting, a diploma in IFRS from ACCA, alongside the Advanced Financial Modeler designation from the Financial Modeling Institute. That's the AFM, by the way. And this evening, Funaya and I will be talking about managing quick loans wisely and avoiding debt traps. You heard me correctly. Managing quick loans wisely and avoiding debt traps. So you don't get into debt. You avoid the loan sharks. If you're going to borrow money, you borrow money wisely so you can stay alive and repay the loans. Before we get into the topic this evening, let's make welcome our very special guest. I thought we were receiving a model on a finance program, until she actually acknowledged that she's the guest for today. Funaya Peters, good evening and welcome to Money Talks.
Good evening, Captain Smart. It's good to be here. It's a pleasure to be here. And thanks to CFA Society for hosting this program.
Good to have you. They usually say that when people are beautiful, they're usually not so intelligent like that. So it's rare to find beauty and brains in one body. And I think that's what you represent. So it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
So Funaya and I will be talking about managing quick loans wisely and avoiding debt traps. You can reach us on the telephone 0700 923 923 923. That's how to get in touch. You want to ask questions or you want to make contributions, you can call that number 0700 923 923 923, or you can send us messages on WhatsApp 0817 313 6193. You can also send voice notes to that number. That's 0817 313 6193. If you have questions about how to manage quick loans wisely and avoid getting into debt traps, you can ask Funaya, and she'll be providing free answers while she's here in the studio. But when she leaves, you may have to pay for her consultancy. So just make use of the time that she is here this evening. So Funaya, can I start by asking you if taking quick loans is actually ever a good idea? Because, people need money and there are so many persons or so many organizations that are just waiting. In fact, these days, they offer you the money. They don't wait for you to even ask or apply for it. On the internet, they're sending you messages saying, why don't you take this loan? Oh, X amount of money is available. Just take it. Go buy whatever you need. Quick. It's there. It's available. Is this a good idea?
That's a very good question because most people will be thinking that is quick loan a good idea? So I would say it's yes or no. So it has it's a double-edged sword. So it has two answers. So the reason why I would say it, I will start with no to discourage it actually, because you would ask yourself, what do you need this money for? Do you need this money for consumption, or you need this money for emergency, or you need this money for investment? So if you need this money for consumption, you would ask yourself, is this important? Right? You would try to do some evaluation. If I go and meet my friend, to borrow me this money? Will the friend give me this money? The friend like, what do you want to use this money? Do I want to use the money to go and eat in or somewhere? Do you get? So you would first of all evaluate, what do I need this money for? First of all, if the money is not something that is critical, if it's not something that it is something that you can do away with, if it's something that you can postpone, you don't actually need to. You don't need to take loan for that, because you can defer that expenses. But if you find out that this money is something that you actually need, it's an emergency. Maybe you need, the child is sick, you need to take the child to the hospital, or you find out that you want to invest this money in a business that is going to give you back inflow, then I would say taking loan, quick loan, is actually a good idea.
Okay, so you said you were going to say yes and no. Okay, you have actually answered. So now let's dwell on the no answer. So let's talk about the dangers inherent in taking these quick loans. Because as I said, they are everywhere now more than ever before. Before, maybe growing up, you hear people go to the bank or go to loan houses and they say they turn them down. But right now, everywhere you look, I'm sure if I go onto this computer now, you see it will pop up everywhere. So what are the dangers inherent in these very quick loans?
Okay, so the dangers inherent in this quick loan is that at initial onset, when they send it to you, or when you see it, or when you go to any loan house or loan app or whatever the means you use to get those loans, you see that they will be appealing to you because the interest rate looks small. But then if you take that loan for a long period of time, you will see that the loan accumulates to a very high interest rate. So let me give you an example. Let's say that they are appealing to you with 5% or 10%, and you are saying that, oh, I'm going to take this loan for 1 month. 10% is just small money. I would pay back the money. Then you now say you didn't take this loan for 12 months. If you calculate 12 times 10 or 10% in 12 months, that's about 120%. So you're paying over like double of the money you borrowed, which is actually bad, because you ask yourself that, why will I be paying double? This person is getting rich off me. You get? So another danger is there. It's the repayment period. The repayment period is usually short. So now they would appeal to you and tell you that, oh, it can be flexible. You can pay this money over, you can spread the loan over a period of time. But then, like I said, the interest rate.
Yeah.
So some people will be like, oh, okay, I don't want to spread this loan, because if I spread the loan, the interest rate is going to be a lot. But then you will now be faced with a situation whereby you want to pay back a huge amount of money within a short time. When you're taking the loan, you didn't have money, and then you don't want to pay back that loan in 2 weeks. By the time it's now that 2 weeks, you'll be having a lot of pressure on you, like it will affect your health, because you're thinking, where do I get this money to pay this loan? Where do I get? So the repayment period, usually it's short. So those are the dangers there. So it can affect your health. Mentally, you're thinking that, oh, I'm scared. This person is coming to meet me, or this person is going to send a WhatsApp message to someone else that, oh, I'm owing, like the shame that comes with it. So there's that repayment period, which is short, which affects like your health, which also affects your social status, and also like the interest rate, which looks manageable at the onset, but it's so high.
I've seen messages spread about people who are owing, and at one time they said the person was HIV positive. It's all in a bid to get them to pay. And one time they published the person's obituary. They said this person is dead.
Wow.
just because the person, is owing. In case you're joining us now, Funaya Peters is the guest on the program, Money Talks, and we're talking about managing quick loans wisely and avoiding debt traps. In case you're already owing, you can call the number 0700 923 923 923. Perhaps, well, not perhaps, I'm sure Funaya can give you tips on how to come out of that debt cycle you're in now. And maybe you want to take a loan, you need advice, you need counsel before you get into that debt cycle so you can manage it properly. You can also send us a message on WhatsApp 0817-313-6193 or send a voice note to that number. Whatever you do, just be sure you're getting through to us here. So Funaya, as we expect the phone lines to start ringing in a bit, how can people manage quick loans wisely without falling into a debt cycle? Some people, they're always in debt. As they finish paying, they take another one, so it's just continuous like that. How do they manage that to come out of that?
Okay, so how do you manage that? I would say that firstly, you need to borrow what you need at that point. So you've done an analysis and you find out that this money I need is actually important, and I don't have any other option to borrow to get this money to sort out the particular situation I am or the particular expense. So you borrow exactly what you need. So sometimes when you go to take out some loans, you find out that they give you some limits, and you want a particular amount. Let's say you want 25,000 and your limit is 50,000. Don't be tempted to borrow the entire 50,000 because what you need is 25,000. So try to avoid that temptation of borrowing more than what you need. The next thing you need to do is to do an analysis of your income and your expenses to be able to cut down on some unnecessary expenses. So I'll give an example here. Let's say you spend 1,000 on airtime on a daily basis. You might think that, that's just a little amount of money. But when you compound that amount over the duration of the month, which is 30 days or sometimes 31 days, you find out that you're spending 31,000 naira on airtime. That's a huge amount of money. So what you want to do is to look at your expenses, analyze your expenses. Are there some expenses that I can do away with? Are there some expenses that I don't necessarily have to spend? Can I cut down on some expenses? So when you cut down on those expenses, you can move that money that you have saved from those expenses that you would have spent to an emergency fund, to savings. So if you move that money to savings, when you're found in a time of emergency or you need money, you can easily fall back to that money. Secondly, you need to also understand the terms of this loan that you want to take. Very important. It's very, very important, to be honest, because you need to know the interest rate. What's the interest rate? How long am I taking this loan? Are there some hidden charges? So by the time you understand the interest rate, you would then be able to know that, will I be able to pay this money? Would I have sufficient income to pay this money at a particular time? So the time you want to repay the money, will I have sufficient income to pay that money? So you need to understand that. The last before you need to plan. Plan. So have a plan on how you want to repay this money. Before you go into taking loan, have a plan on how you want to repay this money. I'm going to get income from social place. I'm going to get money from here to pay this money. So you just have a straight plan. Then, let me just add one more. Okay. Yeah, I think everybody deserves to know, this is good education for the public. So the final one is that you need to, if it's possible, look for, try to get other alternatives to get this money. So that you can join cooperatives. You can also try savings. I know I spoke about savings before, but you can try to join cooperative. I know that cooperative, their interest rate might be a bit lower because what you are doing is that you are saving money. So you are contributing money to the cooperative. And if there's an emergency, you go and meet them and they will give you a percentage of the interest. And mind you, if you this interest that you now get from cooperatives, at the end of the year, they usually share the profits from the cooperative. So it's a win-win for you, right? I think another one you can do is this ajo that people usually do. So you come together and you drop money on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis. Then at the end of the year, they usually just give the money. That's a good way of staying out of debt.
Well, if somebody now runs away with the money, when it's your turn, they're not jackpot with the money. It becomes a problem. I was going to ask you, Funaya, you were talking about, trying to resist, borrowing this money and all of that. How do you really activate your rejecting this, juicy or enticing loan when you're really very much in need, right? Maybe school has opened, your children are not going to be able to go back to school. You borrow this money knowing that your income will not be able to offset the loan even before the next school term. I mean, do you say, okay, let my children stay at home, or borrow this money knowing that you're never going to be able to repay it even before it is that term over?
Okay, so that's a very good question there, because most Nigerians would find themselves in that kind of situation. So what I would say is that you would want to, because at this point in time now, you need that money now.
Yeah.
You can explore alternatives. You can ask family and friends, right? But if you can't get the money from there, then you can now resort to borrowing. But then if you want, before you even try to borrow, there are some things that are not useful in your house. You might have some junks that, you just want to try as much as possible to like get rid of some things that that, I can actually sell this thing as fairly used. I can dispose of this thing to get small money. That would actually reduce.
Okay, we'll have a call.
Okay.
Hello, good evening to you.
Good evening, Captain.
Thank you very much for calling.
Well,
yeah, tell us your name and where you're calling from.
my name is Mary.
All right.
And I'm from Lagos.
Okay, quickly, let's have your contribution.
So, how one can avoid borrowing when interest rate is high, but you need the money. Some interest rates with all these microfinance banks and stuff is always really is a lot, and it scares people from borrowing. So what do we do when we really need the money?
Okay, thank you very much. You really need the money. Interest rate is high, but you really need this money. Like you've just said now, if you're borrowing 10% in a month, it appears small, or even 5% in a month. But if you do that across 12 months, it's either 60% or 120%. That's a lot high.
Okay, so I think there's one part I would, before I go into this, give an answer, because the answer I'm going to give is kind of generic, because I would have loved to know if this caller has like, when do you need to spend the money, right? I would have loved to know that answer. But then I'll give a generic response to that. And I'm giving this response in the instance that you don't need that money now. So let's say it's a future expense. So what I would try to tell you is that in being financially independent, you need to have some financial discipline, right? It might be difficult, but by the time you keep on educating yourself and you keep on doing some things little gradually, you'll find out you have gained that discipline. So what I would say is that try to cut down on unnecessary expenses. Look at, I'll keep on emphasizing is that analyze your income and your expenses, most especially your expenses. There are some expenses that you can do away with. If you might want to say, I want to take the taxi today, but you can actually take the bus to that place. I'm going to a distance that, let's say you're moving from point A to point B, let's say a hotel to legally right now, and you're like, can I trek this distance? Do I have the money? So there are some things that you can do. That's why I said financial discipline. It might be difficult, but we just have to put in that for us to maintain financial independence. So you cut down on some expenses, push that money that you've saved from that expenses, put it into savings, so that when you need the money, you can easily fall back to that money for whatever you need. Yeah. So the key word there is financial discipline. All right.
And a message here. This is MC Wheezy, and it says, "Hi, I so much love this program. I am a victim of this loan app, and I've learned dearly. But I have a question. I had an accident 2 years ago after a loan. They kept calling, and I explained what happened, and they stopped calling. I want to know now that I'm okay and working, if I can start making my payment, and how do I do it even as they don't call anymore, but my mind is judging me because it's people's money I took. Is this a miracle?"
Okay.
This sounds like a miracle. Like he borrowed money, had an accident, they stopped calling.
Yeah, I think he actually said that.
Maybe God has repaid the loan for him.
I think he actually said that he reached out to them, which is a very good thing. I think that is something that when you find yourself been in this debt cycle, you would want to, instead of you going back to borrow loan to like repay a loan, you want to first of all reach out to the lender. Or let's say it's a supplier, you want to reach out to them and try to renegotiate like favorable terms to repay this loan, which is what he did. I would really give him the accolades for that. That is a very good one there. So in terms of, your conscience, like, this is kind of ethical, like, so you want to repay the loan. Like you said, it's people's money. Even if they've not remembered, just try and reach out to them and let them know that, you appreciate their consideration when you call them earlier, and you would like to start repaying this loan because you are up and doing now, and you're getting inflow, you can clear out the loan.
Okay, so Funaya, we'll have to move very quickly. These questions coming in, they have slowed us down, but you can call us on the telephone anyway. 0700 923 923 923. That's the number to call. Anything about debt cycle. Did you borrow money from a loan shark? Did you borrow money from the bank and interest is mounting? The loan is like trying to swallow you up. You don't know what to do. You can call Funaya now and ask questions on what to do exactly. Or are you intending to go and borrow? You need counsel before you go there. You can also call and get some counsel here for free. 0700 923 923 923. That's the number. 0700 923 923 923. Or you can actually send a message to 0817 313 6193 and get answers as well. So Funaya, some people are already inside of this debt cycle we're talking about now. Debt cycle of taking quick loans and all of that. Can you give us practical advice on what will help them to break that cycle and regain control of their finances instead of payday becoming an angry day or a sad day for them? Because they know that as they pay me this money like this, not 1 naira is mine, because I have to service my loans here and there with people who have a conscience like MC Wizzy.
Okay, so I would, before I start answering this question, I would start with what you said, right? I think payday might actually be a sad day for them. Yeah, because once you're already in that debt cycle, the first thing you want to do is that you tell yourself you need to break the cycle. And how do you break the cycle? By not going back to another loan provider to get money to pay the existing loan you have. So you've broken that cycle. So once you've told yourself that, I'm not going to borrow I'm actually going to pay out this loan without going to borrow. That's the first step. And once you've done that, you've broken that loan. So you've broken the cycle. So the next thing you now need to do is that, okay, I've done this. You then have to ask yourself that, how do I now get money to pay this, to pay the loan? You ask yourself, okay, can I take some side gigs? Can I start doing some side gigs? Do I have something that I can sell to give me money? Because you have to pay that loan. You want to pay that loan, and you don't want people chasing you for that loan. You don't want that embarrassment. So you need to take some measures that you need to look for, like part-time jobs. Part-time jobs. You can also check, try to sell some things that you have. You want to look at if you have some skills that can give you money, like all these freelance writers, photography. Just look for something that will give you inflow. Then another thing you need to do is that I will keep on emphasizing this, because it's just something that it's common with all human beings here. We try to spend even when we don't need it. We just want to spend the money. Try to cut down on unnecessary expenses. That's very important. Then another thing you also need to do is that you need to now try to ask friends and families, like, I'm in this situation, how can you help me, right? Because I don't want to go back to borrow. Right? That if I do this if I come out of this debt, I'll be like a clean slate. I would try and do better. So just try and exploit other legitimate and clean way of getting like inflow to offset it.
All right. Funaya, you know that things are very expensive now. Prices are just on top of the roof. Food, commodities, and all of that. And because of that, people are needing these quick loans just to cover up for everyday expenses. What advice do you have for people in this situation? They even you talked about borrowing for consumption.
Yeah.
We're in that time and season now where people are borrowing money just to feed. What advice do you have for them? Because man must survive.
Yes. So I think I would say that I've partially answered this question with all the strategies that I have been saying. But I would also say, just give, like, for instance, someone is saying that, I need to feed my baby. I just put to bed, and the price of baby
formula,
it's going up. Your diaper is also going up. All this stuff. There was something that when I was listening to a financial education program, and someone said that a child will give you 9 months to prepare for their coming.
Yeah.
So all those strategies I've talked about, like putting aside money, doing this, it's one-off expensive because it's school fees.
Yeah.
You pay school fees maybe every 3 months. That's a term. You have time to plan. It might not be easy, but once you are already in that situation, you have to put financial discipline.
Yeah.
You need to put in that financial discipline. Yeah.
Okay, very quickly, if you can answer this in 30 seconds, Funaya, is it advisable to take out multiple loans from different lenders?
It's not advisable.
Because some people will say, just go, please give me 20,000. They go, before you know, the money is 500K.
Yeah. It's not advisable because if you do that, you would lose track of your debt, and you might start defaulting on some of them. And once you start defaulting on them, it would increase the debt that you have, and that's when you forget that you're owing somebody money. Your friend will now call you that they sent me WhatsApp message that you get, and you'll be living in hiding. You have high blood pressure because you are thinking about all these things. So don't collect money. Just focus on collecting one and focus on repaying back that one. That's the most important thing.
So what can people do to improve their financial situation so they don't have to rely on these quick loans? Because I see you're not for it.
Well, I might not be for it, but like I said,
if it's an emergency.
If it's an emergency,
okay.
Yeah. So you can't rule out that.
Yeah.
And if it's for business as well.
You can do that, so you can make money. So how do they improve on their financial situation, really? Not to get into this.
Okay, so you can save. And you can also try to educate yourself on financial independence. And a good place to start, which is what you are doing at the moment, is to always try to tune into Inspiration FM to listen to financial professionals who manage money for companies, because it's not easy to manage money for companies. So try to listen to all these financial professionals to get more tips on how to be financially independent. So you can listen to CFA Money Talks. On Inspiration FM to educate yourself.
And what an education it has been this evening. Funaya Peters, thank you very much for your time. It's been such an education. I can assure you they're going to call for your return on the program very soon. Thank you very much, Funaya, for coming. A financial expert indeed, CFA charter holder, and a chartered accountant. Accountants are very miserly. Thank you so much for coming. We've enjoyed your time here, and we're hoping to have you back on this platform yet again. And that's our program for this evening. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Join us again next time for a fresh package. Remember, keep making finance a force for good. Smart. Uzechi's money.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Money Talks, hosted by the CFA Society Nigeria. Stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube at CFA Society Nigeria. Follow us for more financial insight and updates. Keep a date with us next time.